School today, and with me is Dr. Judy Rogers. She's the principal here, and we've just had a wonderful presentation by Peter Reynolds. He's a noted children's author and illustrator. Judy, if you could tell us a little bit about how it was that Peter came here, what does he
Well, actually, we've spent a lot of time in the past couple of years painting murals and fixing up the downstairs of the field, and the upstairs has been pretty bland. So we decided that we wanted to bring in an author to work with children and to start off a mural with his own work, and then have the children participate in the mural. So the theme of this book, The Dot, is making art and secret. So after Peter's visit tonight, meeting with all of the children in small groups, each child in Beal is going to have an opportunity to paint their own dot somewhere on the walls of Beal and autograph the dot with their name.
Well, I think it's something that's close.
How did that idea come?
It was really a collaborative effort between myself and Mrs. Gansler and Mrs. Halpern, who are both parents in school.
Really?
Mrs. Gansler is a private art teacher outside of school. So she has decided to offer, volunteered her time to spearhead this project. And we're hopefully going to use parent volunteers from each classroom to work with thousands of children. Have each child paint a dot on the walls and fix this place up. We also want the staff to participate, and we're hoping to have this project completed by the end of the school year. So everyone that's here this year can make their mark.
And Dr. Rogers, how is it that Mr. Reynolds came to Beal today as far as funding? How did you get the funds to pay for it?
Well, we're fortunate enough to have a very supportive parent-teacher organization, our PTO, funding this visit for the day because they're committed to improving our school, making it look better, and so we do appreciate all the work that our PTO does.
And he is here the whole
day,
right? Because he met with the morning session, he's going to be meeting with the afternoon session?
Right.
Okay.
And in addition to with the other two first grade classes as well.
Excellent. Well, that's good. Thank you to the PTO.
Today we are very lucky because Peter Reynolds, an author and illustrator, is here to visit with us. And he is going to help us start our Beal School mural that we're all going to participate in later on in the year before you all leave Beal. So I think Peter has a story to tell you, and then he's going to be painting. The only thing I'm going to ask you to do is when Mrs. McLaughlin's class comes back from their special, they're going to be walking right by and going right into her classroom right here. Don't stop and talk to them, just keep listening to our visitor, okay?
Thank you very much. Well, it's wonderful to be here at your school, and this is a very cool place to meet. Very cool. Meeting in the hallway, very cool. You know, I love hallways because they have walls. And walls are great for hanging things on, like art. But it's even extra cool when you get to actually paint on the walls. And when you paint on a wall, it's called a mural. And this looks like it is ready to be painted on, do you think?
Yes.
Yeah? So maybe, we'll see if we get inspired, all right? And we'll see if I can think of something to put out there. But first I wanted to share a very special story with you. And this is a story called The Dot. And it's a story that I wrote. So Peter H. Reynolds, that's me. And I wrote it, and I also drew the pictures. It happens to be two of my all-time favorite things to do. Well, actually three of them, all packed in one. I love to draw, I love to write, I also love to read stories. And that's the cool thing about, you know, when you draw and write a story, then you get to read it. You also get to share it. So actually there are four of my favorite things. Because sharing is definitely one of my favorite things to do. So I'm going to share my book, The Dot. Before I start, first I wanted to find out, how many of you like to draw? Raise your hand. You love it. Wow, that's what I like to hear. And how many people here, put your hands down, how many people here like to read? All right. How many people, put your hands down, how many people here would like to make a book? Excellent. All right, put your hands down. How many people here would like to make an animated cartoon? Okay, put your hands down. If anybody wants a job, my company is called Fable Vision. All right, I do children's books, and but I also have a company called Fable Vision. We make animated films, cartoons, that help teach people things. So if you'd like a job, we need people who like to draw, write, read, share, We also need people who can problem solve. If you're good at math, we need those people. Yeah, math. Excellent. We need people who know how to spell. So, excellent. You like to spell? Good. So, when you graduate college, come and see me or Bill. All right. Bill will definitely still be working by then, I think. Yeah. Bill works with me at Fable Vision. I actually work with we have probably 15 full-time people, and because we can't do it alone. In life you need some good friends, so we have 15 really good friends, and we all work together. And everybody there is very artistic, wonderful, good people. This is the story. Art class was over, but Vashti sat glued to her chair. Her paper was empty. Kind of like this. Right? Yeah. Well, we'll use our imagination and pretend that that's her big piece of paper. Okay? Vashti's teacher leaned over the blank sheet of paper. Ah, a polar bear in a snowstorm. Can you see it?
No.
What do you have to have in order to see it? Imagination? Yeah. Yeah, imagination. Yeah, because a polar bear is what color?
White. It needs some outline.
Yeah, and snow is white. So a white polar bear on white snow, you would see it. But really and truly, a polar bear is it's not really white, is it? It's kind of a little yellowish and grayish. But it's an old art joke. Okay, very funny, said Vashti. I just can't draw. Her teacher smiled. Just make a mark and see where it takes you. In fact, I'm going to need a volunteer. Somebody quiet, something this is up, right in the back, right in the back. You, yes, you. Yes, what's your name?
Minnie.
Minnie? Minnie? Come on out. How do you spell your name?
M-I-N-N-I-E.
M-I-N-N-I-E. Excellent. Okay. So, Minnie, I would like you to, actually, do you know what I want you to do? I want you to, we'll use gold.
Okay.
Gold paint. All right. And you can be Vashti, all right? And, in fact, you look a little bit like Vashti, I think. Think so? Yeah? All right. So, hold on just a sec. So her teacher smiled and she said, just make a mark and see where it takes you. All right? So if you can just put a dot of paint there. Fabulous. If you want, do you want to do any more? Just a little. Is that beautiful?
Yeah.
That is a gold dot. How beautiful is that? Vashti grabbed the marker, we'll pretend that's the marker, and gave the paper a good, strong jab. So if you want to, you can jab it. Beautiful. Beautiful. There. Her teacher picked up the paper. Pretend that this is the paper. And she studied it carefully. She pushed the paper towards Vashti and said quietly, now sign it, what I want you to do. I'm going to give you the letters to spell, okay? Right underneath, can you write V, A, S, H, T, and I. Vashti. Excellent. Okay. Vashti thought for a moment, well, maybe I can't draw, but I can sign my name. So, you signed it. The next week, when Vashti walked into art class, she was surprised to see what was hanging above her teacher's desk. It was the little dot. She had drawn her dot, all framed in swirly gold. And fact, do you know what we're going to do? At some point, I'm going to, I think we're going to, don't you think this might be fun to make a big swirly gold frame here? So I'm just going to start it, and later on I'm going to finish it. But I'm going to just begin by making a swirly gold frame. This will just be my guideline here.
Okay.
All right?
You roll well.
Thank you. Nice of you to say. It's always nice when you hear nice things from people.
Yeah, you do. Now I know you're.
So here it is, all framed in swirly gold. You use your imagination that this is all done. At some point in time, it will be all done. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it, but today we're going to perform a miracle and to try to get it all done. All framed in swirly gold. I can make a better dot than that, said Vashti, and there she is. She stomps into class. She sees that, right? She opened her never-before-used set of watercolors and set to work. Now, do you think these have been used?
Yes.
Very, very used. These are the same watercolors that I used to paint the dot. I just found them the other day. I have a couple of watercolor sets, and I bring my watercolors everywhere I go. And these are my watercolors. They're kind of messy. That's because I actually use them every day. All right? So I want you to, you're just going to sort of use your acting skills and pretend that you're painting, okay? She opened her never-before-used set of watercolors and set to work. Vashti painted and painted some. She painted a red dot, a purple, just use your imagination. A purple dot, a yellow dot. Oh, that's a beautiful color, yellow. A blue dot. Oh, that's beautiful. The blue mixed with the yellow. She discovered that she could make a green dot. Very good. A green dot. Vashti kept experimenting. Lots of little dots in many colors. In fact, if you keep mixing your colors, you could get many, many, many colors, can't you? Lots of colors. If I can make little dots,
You can make big dots?
yes, exactly. Vashti splashed her colors with a bigger brush on bigger paper to make even bigger dots. Can you see this one? See how big this one is?
What color is that?
And she's mixing all over colors. This is a multicolored dot. So we're going to just pretend that you did excellent, Minnie. You're doing a fabulous job. Vashti even made a dot by not painting a dot. That's a pretty nifty trick, isn't it? She painted right around, and the canvas, the white canvas, became a big white dot without even making a line.
Hey, you didn't even have to color.
That's right. At the school art show a few weeks later, Vashti's many dots made quite a splash. Look at all those dots.
Oh,
She had gone dot crazy there, huh? So many dots. And every dot is different. So let's just pretend that there are dots all down this hall, and all down this hall, and all down this hall. Many, many dots. Can you imagine that? I need another volunteer. Okay, up here. All right, and you just stand here. You are going to play the part of Ramon. All right? Vashti noticed the boy gazing at her artwork. You're a really great artist, he said. I wish I could draw. I bet you can, said Vashti. Can you shake your head? Go. Do that. Yeah. Okay. Me? No, not me. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. Vashti smiled. She handed the boy a blank sheet of paper. And what we'll do is we will give you a blank sheet of paper. Look at this. Sometimes you just improvise. Here's a blank sheet of paper. Okay? What I want you to do is pretend. You can just pretend that you're drawing on this. Okay? Vashti smiled. She handed the boy a blank sheet of paper. Show me. The boy's pencil, as he shook as he drew his line. Actually, can you put it on the floor? And I know have you ever drawn on a paper towel before? You have? So I've drawn on napkins. I've drawn on sand. So draw us a line. Can you just draw a line for us?
You draw the sand.
Excellent. The boy's pencil shook as he drew his line. Vashti stared at the boy's squiggle. And then she said, what do you think she said?
Sign it.
Very good. Sign it. That's right. And that's how the book ends. But you know what? It's really how the book begins. Because there's another book and it's called Ish.
I know.
You know that one?
I knew that.
Yes. And the star of Ish is Ramon, who is inspired by Vashti. And Vashti really has become just like her teacher, right? You know how her teacher said, just make a mark and see where it takes you. So, and that's did you like that one? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. A round of applause. Thank you very much. What's your name? Noah, thank you so much for your help. You can go back. Vashti, Minnie. Thank you. Don't you think Minnie did an awesome job? Thank you. By the way, this is awesome. Except Ramon, you forgot to do one thing. What did Ramon forget to do? Yes, you forgot to sign it. It's very important. Can you sign this? But you can actually sign your own name to it. If you want. Do you know what? I'll hold it out for you in a second. So I know it's very exciting. Seeing the artist sign the work is always very, very exciting. That actually is called a grease pencil. Or a China marker, and the reason it's called a China marker is that in the old days, actually some places they still use it. If you go in to buy a teapot or a cup, they'll write on the teacup with this special grease pencil or a China marker, and then when you bring it home, if you buy it, bring it home, you can just rub it off. But if you draw on paper, it doesn't rub off. And I really like it because it's almost like charcoal, but have you ever used charcoal? It's very smudgy, and it smudges all over the place and it gets dusty.
I've used charcoal pencil.
Do you know what's cool about this? You never have to sharpen this because it has this little piece of string. We can pull this paper off, which is very cool. So if you're driving in a car on a long trip, you don't have to work. Whoa! It's a lot. And then there we go. So this is my favorite pencil. And do you know what?
I have that pencil.
I think, seeing as I got this big white space up here, would you like it if I drew a little something?
Yeah!
Okay. Well, I've got a vision for this. I like this, the beginning of this frame, and Vashti already started painting the gold frame for us. Thank you, Minnie. Because what we'll do is we'll paint this around in gold, all right? And we'll leave this little dot. We'll figure out what to do with that.
I know what to do. Make a dot.
What is that?
Make a little head out of it.
See?
Make
Well,
a
you
dot.
can-
All
All right. This is what I'm going to do. And you know what? You know how Ramon said, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler? You know, it's kind of funny how people, they get nervous about drawing, especially, see, now, you guys like to draw?
Yes.
So you guys, what, in 4th grade?
No.
First grade? You must read or something because you look very smart. Is that right? Yeah. But what happens is when we get older, and please don't ever let this happen to you. It's a terrible thing. When you get older, the older you get, sometimes you forget how to draw. And you stop drawing. It's a very sad thing. But a lot of adults don't draw. In fact, what I'd love you to do when you go home is ask your parents to draw you something, all right? And if they say, I don't know what to draw, I don't know how to draw, just say, just take a deep breath, it'll be okay, draw me a teacup. All right? If they say, I don't know how to draw a teacup, say, I'm sure you do. Just try. Just try. Be brave.
Making copies.
And say, it doesn't have to be a teacup. It just has to be teacup-ish. Okay? Yes, you have a question? Your mother draws you pictures?
Me too.
And yours too? Well, no
Me
wonder you guys are creative. You got great parents. Okay. What we're going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write something to make us think. So every time you go by this mural, you'll do some thinking. All right. So I'm going to write something along the top. And one of my favorite things is favorite phrase is keep making your mark. Or let's see, make your mark and see where it takes you. How do you like that?
Yeah.
Make your mark and see where it takes you. So I have to kind of vision how long that's going to be. Make your mark. Make your. And then what we're going to do is I'll start it here and we'll continue it in a minute. Make your mark. Dot, dot, dot. Okay, and then we'll see where it takes you down there. But what I'd like to do is draw a picture of some creative people, just like you guys. All right? So I'm going to, why don't we start with somebody that looks like Vashti from the book?
Like Minnie.
And what I'm doing is I'm using my grease pencil first, and then what I'm going to do is go with paint later and add some color. But you're getting to see the first stage here. Can't see? How's that if I move out of the way for a second? What do you think? She looks like she's flying, doesn't she? She's being inspired. She's using her imagination. Well, do you know what we're going to do? I'll add a little bit of a kind of emotion lines like this. Because she's traveling. We'll put some stars there.
Don't be crazy.
A second person there, and he's sketching. So Vashti is painting, and this boy is doing a little sketch. He looks a little bit like Ramon, a little bit. And I can also use the side of my grease pencil to put in some shadows, like that. And now, have we shared the idea with everyone here yet about what we're going to do?
Not formally, no.
Not formally? But do you guys, I mean, it's fun to watch me paint, and I'm going to be finishing this mural. But, you know, remember how I said that walls are really good for art? Now, and you said you like to draw, right? Yeah. You like to paint?
Yeah.
How would you guys, I am not going to have enough time. What I wanted to do, I wanted to put dots all over this place. I do not have the time because I have to get back to my studio and work on my next book, which is Judy Moody. Anyone read Judy Moody? Yeah. I illustrated the Judy Moody series, and I'm finishing up the next one called Judy Moody, Around the World in 8.5 Days. And you're actually the first kids to ever hear of that title in a school because I haven't shared that. I just got the manuscript. So that's the next Judy Moody book, and there's a new spin-off book called Steak, which is the little brother of Judy. And so anyway, I have to get back to my studio. And so, would you guys like to help me paint?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to happen today, because we have to prepare, right? We have to prepare the walls for you. But if you would like to, anyone who would like to, volunteer and paint their own dot. And what I would love to do is come back when you're done and see all the different kinds of dots. And you can use your imagination and make any kind of dot you want. So yes, so we've got volunteers, everyone. Okay, that would be 100% participation in the project. That's great. Thank you so much for helping me out, because there's no way I was going to be able to get all this done. So I am going to quickly, let's see how fast I can sketch this up. So I'm going to add some swirly, this is our swirly gold frame. I'm going to mix some more paint. And just like Vashi made many dots and many colors, I'm going to kind of mix my paints together to come up with another color. So I've mixed red and blue and white together. What do you think I'm going to get? Red, white, and blue color? Well, do you know what? I'm mixing it here, and we're going to see what it turned into.
Purple? No, that's red. That's magenta. Light.
Yes, I did. I covered the star because you know when you're making a drawing, when you make your first sketch, it's just your sort of rough idea, and it's just to kind of give you the idea. But you can always change your mind. And artists often will change their mind as they're painting. And there are some paintings that they've actually taken. You know what an X-ray is? There's an X-ray. They've actually been able to X-ray paintings, and you can see all the different layers. And you can see that the artist, sometimes there used to be someone standing there, and they just decided, you know what, I don't want someone standing there. They just paint right over them. And so the final painting only has one person in it, but originally it had two. So you can always change your mind. We call art is really a work in progress, right? So you can change your mind, or you can get inspired to do a different version. So like if you draw a dog and you say, like some people will take an eraser and they'll say, that's not right. What I say is, why don't you save that dog and make another dog, because you have a better idea, keep going. But I always like to save all of my work so I can see all the different versions of it, and kind of see where I started. So what we're going to do, I'm going to, throughout the day I'm going to be adding to this, and if you see I'm layering the colors, and we might use some solid colors, and I'm going to make. But then what we're also going to do is, we're going to take this gold. The gold this is just very cool to have gold paint. And what I'm going to do is, again, I put these lines here just to remind me what I'm painting, but I can paint right over those, and what I'm going to do is later on, I'm going to paint my swirlies again. Thank you.
Is all in book. You
Thank you very much. Now, seeing as I'm here, as I'm painting, I can always answer a question. So you've got me here today, in live and in person. Do you have any questions that you've been thinking about? Yeah.
How do you put the book together after you're done with all the pages?
how do I put the book together?
I think you can staple it.
Yeah, well, it's, well, if I'm doing it myself, I just either staple it together. But what I do is I do my drawings and I send it to my publisher, right? Candlewood Press does Judy Moody and the Dot. And so what I'll do is I do the pictures and then I give it to them and then they send it to the printer. And then the printer makes many, many copies on big sheets of paper. And then they have to chop up all the sheets of paper and then they have to staple them together or sew them together. And then they put the cover on. You actually have to glue the cover on. And then they print up thousands and thousands of copies, put them in boxes, put them on a boat, and like the Dot was printed in Italy, so across the ocean. So the boat had to bring my books over here across the ocean, and then they unpack the books, and then they bring them to the bookstore, and then you go into the bookstore, and then you buy the book. Pretty complicated stuff. Yeah, what's your question?
How do you get the book cover?
Oh, how do you put the book cover on top?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Really? You know, that's a good, where did the Dot go?
Where's the dog?
Yeah.
Here's the dog.
Yeah, okay.
Do you need the dog?
Sure. Yeah. So you're wondering how do they get the cover on? Well, there's also, you know that most books have this little book cover,
I have that.
right? And that protects your book. But so there's a cover here. So this is actually a piece of cardboard. A piece of cardboard that's folded, and then they take my drawing, print it, and they glue it on to the cardboard. And then they take the pages that have all been sewed together, and then they glue it. And if you look, you can kind of see it's glued. Actually, what happens is these pages are glued. These are called the end papers. And these end papers actually get glued down, and it actually holds the whole book on. If you didn't have these end papers, all the pages would go flying out. So it's very neat to have. So, yeah. So, any other? You have a question? How did I become an artist? Well, you know, that's a good question. What happened was when I was a little kid, a baby, I took some spaghetti sauce and I threw it against the wall. And I looked back and I said, that's beautiful. It's beautiful. And my mother took a look at it and she didn't think it was so beautiful. It was her nice clean wall, and she said, it's better to draw on a piece of paper. So she gave me paper. So actually, I've been drawing since I've been very little. And but the thing is, I never stopped. Now you guys are in fourth grade, no, wait a second, first grade? First grade. I never stopped. And the thing is, if you keep going with something, with anything, it could be with chess, or juggling, or karate, or dance, or football, if you keep doing it, you get better, right? So that's really the only difference, is that I kept going, and I drew every day. In fact, every day I make at least 20 to 25 drawings. Every day. And some days I do even more than that. I do 100 drawings. So, and every time I make a drawing, I learn something. And sometimes I go to draw something, I'm like, oh, I want to draw a cat sitting on a windmill. So I draw the kitty, and then I start drawing the windmill, and I say, you know what? I'm not sure what a windmill looks like. So then I have to do some research. I have to look in books or on the internet, and I find a picture of a windmill. And then I do my own version of the windmill. But it's always good to, but then I learn. And I think, well, that's how they make a windmill. So I'm always, every single day, I'm learning. Another question? Anything else? Any other thoughts? Yes? Yeah, what's your question?
When you make a mistake, do you learn something?
Do I learn something? Yes, I do. And do you know what? I wanted to show you my all-time favorite book. Where is my all-time favorite book? I have it. You have it? This woman had it. It's a very popular book. But this is one of my all-time favorite books. This is so awesome. I highly recommend reading this one. This is totally awesome. Look at this. This is my favorite part right here. Oh, wait. You know how you're not supposed to look at the last page of a book? You know, because it kind of spoils the ending? But this is so good I have to show you. Look. This is my blank book.
Imagination book.
It's my imagination book. Very good, excellent word for that. It is my imagination book because really, the blank page, I could do anything. I could make my own book. In fact, I have. And you know what? I have a journal, and this is also called a journal, and I have this by my bedside. And every night I make a promise to myself that I'll either write something, even one word, even a dot, just to make a little mark. Sometimes I put a dot, and then I sign it, and I put the date.
Hey, I see dots.
And one night, I fell asleep, and I had a magic marker, and I fell asleep with my hand on the paper with the marker. And well, when I woke up, what do you think was there? Was it a little dot? Or do you think it became a big dot?
Big dots.
It became a very big dot. In fact, you might want to try this sometime. You can take a paper towel and just make it a little bit damp, not too wet. All right? Make it a damp towel. And then just put, because this kind of speeds up the process, and then just put your paintbrush on the damp towel and see what happens. And you'll see the paper towel will absorb, right? Especially the picker, quicker, upper kind. It absorbs the color, and it becomes, instead of a little dot, it becomes a big dot. Well, I woke up and there was this big, big black dot, and my hand was black. And at first I thought it was a mistake, just like you said, a mistake. So I said, oh no, and I put it to one side, and then I went back to sleep. And in the morning, in the light of day, I took a look at this mistake. What I thought was a mistake. And I took a look, and I thought, oh my gosh, is this possibly one of the very best ideas I've ever had? And so what I did was I wrote The Dot by Peter H. Reynolds. And then I put it on my mantle in my room. And I looked at it, and it inspired me. It inspired me to finish the book. And that is where the dot came from. So it started with a mistake. I thought it was a mistake, but see, that's what's cool about mistakes. You have to really say to yourself, is it possibly a really good idea? So don't worry if you think you made a mistake, because sometimes you come up. In fact, a lot of the best inventions we have are mistakes, supposedly mistakes. So very, very good. What's your name?
Nelly.
Nelly. That's a beautiful name. I collect words and I collect names. I love when I hear interesting names like Vashti. Has anyone here named Vashti? There are not too many Vashtis. Well, one day I was I was playing really in a cafe, and I was having a little coffee, and I was painting, and a little girl came up to me, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm painting." And she said, "Who are you painting for?" And I said, "For you." And she said, "For me?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "What took you so long?" And she's like, "What?" And I said, so I signed the little painting, Peter Reynolds, and then I wrote to, and I said, "How do you spell your name again?" And she said, V-A-S-H-T-I. Vashti. And I said, "You know what? You're actually the very first Vashti I've ever met." And I said, "It's a beautiful name." And I said, "Do you mind? I'm writing a book, and the character does not have a name yet. Do you mind if I used your name?" And she said, "Really?" And I said, "Well, no promises, but I think it might work." So I went home, and where there was a blank line, I wrote Vashti. Vashti sat glued to her chair. The paper was empty. And I thought, that sounds pretty good. And then what I did was I did some research, and I found out what the name meant. Because a lot of times names mean something. In fact, I think almost every name means something. And I looked it up on the internet, and Vashti means beautiful. And I figured beautiful is a good word for the dot, because it's all about making an art, making your art, making your mark. So, and that is the story of Vashti. This is great because I mix black with white, and sometimes I paint in color, and sometimes I paint in black and white, or shades of gray. And if you look at the dot, the dot, if you notice, the characters are not in color. which is something, it takes a little while to notice that, but the characters aren't in color, but sometimes the background is. So she's in shades of gray. She's in shades of gray, but look at the color. And what shape is that behind her? What shape? It's kind of a dot shape, isn't it? So you don't always have to color in, you know, so, you know how sometimes it's like, oh, blue pants and a red shirt and brown hair and green boots. You can paint all in shades of gray and then maybe put color behind. I was born in Canada, which is a country north from here, and then I came down here to America. And my parents, actually, my father was born in Argentina, and my mother was born in England, and my grandfather was born in New Zealand, and my grandmother was born in Scotland. And it goes on and on, but we have a very international family. But I live here in Massachusetts, and I live in a town called Dedham, which is not too far away. And I have my studio there, but I also have a bookshop. I actually own a bookstore, but it's a special bookstore because it also has art supplies in it too. So one side is all my favorite books. It's really fun to own a bookshop because you can go in there, it's like a library, and you get to read all the books. And on the other side, it's all art supplies, paper, and we have these blank books there. We have the grease pencils, we have watercolors. Because what I want to have happen is for you to go in, read a book, and say, "That's a great story." You know, that makes me think of a story, and then come up with your own story. And make your own story, because what I would love to have happen is for you guys to create books, get them published, and then we could sell them in our shop. So how many people here would like to be an author with your own book? Yeah? Yeah? Yes? Okay, that was pretty much 100%. Okay, good. Well, I'm looking forward to selling your book in my bookshop, okay? And if you want to come to Dedham sometime, it's called the Blue Bunny. So, it's a very popping store. So pop on down sometime to the Blue Bunny. I'm usually there on Saturdays, and if not, it's my twin brother. He looks just like me. Anybody here a twin? You're a twin? You will? You are a twin? And you're a twin? Oh yeah, and really? They let you hang out together? They kept us apart, Paul and myself. But we are best friends. We're still best friends. In fact, Paul works with me at Fable Fishing. You know what? Making your mark, you can do it with drawing. But you can also make your mark in other ways. And making your mark also means to make a difference, right? In fact, the world needs people who want to make it a better place. Give me an idea of how can we make the world a better place? What does the world need a little bit more of? How can we help? Yeah.
No wars.
No war. That definitely, yeah. It would be a better place if there's no war. Yeah.
No killing.
No killing, yeah.
Yeah.
How about no violence? How about
No guns.
no guns? That
No
would be good.
violence.
No violence, yeah. And do you think we can help make the world a better place? Yeah. And maybe what if you wrote a song that inspired people to be nice to each other? right? So that's maybe a way to make your mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a person who's playing an instrument. Who here plays an instrument? Yeah? Yeah? So we've got a bunch. How about grown-up kids? Anybody here? Yeah? Well, do you know what? I thought that I fell in love with the piano. Yeah? You like the piano?
I play piano.
You play the piano? Well,
My friend Liliana plays.
I play the piano too, but I just make it up as I go along. I kind of improvise. It's kind of piano-ish. So what do you think? Good addition? Yeah? Oh, thank you very much. By the way, thank you so much. You guys were great. Sometimes I travel around the world, right? I've been to Australia. I actually met some kangaroos. Very cool. And I also met kids down there too. And one of the classrooms I went to, I traveled all that way. I went right around the world, and they were so noisy, I couldn't even hear myself talking. And you guys were really respectful. You were good listeners today, so I want to thank you for that. And thank you so much for sharing all of your ideas, and your questions were absolutely fabulous. And again, thank you very much to Noah and to Minnie. Where did Minnie go? Did she disappear? Here she is, yes. Thank you, Minnie. And thanks to the wonderful teachers here who inspire, there's that word again. I love that word. Inspire creativity and art and writing and learning and reading. And I would love to come back and come see your dots. So you're excited about making your own dots? Okay. Well, good luck making your mark. And you seem very determined to ask that question. So what?
Were you in Australia in one of your classes?
Was I in Australia?
Yeah.
Yes. I actually went down there, took a plane, and visited. And what I did was I shared my mission. That's another good word. My mission and my work and my stories. And I have to say that this, for me, is even more special to come to a wonderful school like the Beal School. So thank you very much. And I think you're going to transition. But I'm going to be hanging out today, so maybe I'll see you later.
And Peter, I was wondering if you could tell us, before you came to Beal today, did you have an idea of what you would like to do, or did this kind of come to you as you were here?
Well, the teachers here have read my book, The Dot, and Ish, which is the new book, and it's all about creativity and kind of not being afraid to make your mark. And so they actually came up with this idea of me coming and reading my book, and then making a painting kind of based on it. So it's inspired by the book, the message of the book, which is that creativity is a part of learning, and that classrooms need to be more creative places. In fact, this school is fantastic. Flung with creativity, so it seems perfect. So along the top, we're going to be writing, make your mark and see where it takes you, which is really my philosophy. So.
And I see we have a girl painting, a boy drawing, but you recently drew a girl with a guitar. What do you think you're going to do at the other end? Do you know yet?
I don't know. I just sort of, I'll be brainstorming on the fly. I'm going to have another session with kids. I'll be reading to them, and then I'll sort of whatever comes to mind. But probably I'm going to be I kind of run through all the different arts in my mind, different ways of expressing yourself. There's dance, so it could be a dancer. There could also be just a dreamer, because I think that's actually I have a new book coming out called So Few of You, and it's about being overscheduled, and it's for parents and for kids. And my message
is that coming out?
It's coming in. That'll be out next spring.
Okay.
And it's the message of that book is just make sure that you carve enough time out for dream time, because that's really where
That's where you get inventions and people solving rural disease and things like that, so you're right, maybe it's
Yeah.
dream
And also just have a more joyful life, you know, just take time out and relax, enjoy, and let it fun.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you came to our school. This is
Oh, yeah.
beautiful. I can't wait to see the finished product. And I understand that you're thinking about coming back to see
I would
what
love
you've
to.
inspired with our
Yes, well,
students.
all the kids are going to be making their own dots, so I want to come and see the dot exhibition. So,
Excellent. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much for coming to our school.
Thank you, I really appreciate it. I'm having fun. I had to get back to me. Okay?
Have a good day.
All right.